Okay, well, thank you for joining us now. And typically, many, many more people will watch the recording that has just started. So this is online. Um, so we do this Learn and Improve Your RV the first Wednesday of the month. So we do lots of other things, but this free one is done the first Wednesday of every month. The title of this one was Truth, Metaphors, and GARV, which is Group ARV. Um, and that's the way I published it. But as I get into my presentation, I felt beliefs were really important. And so it really needed to be added to the title. So our schedule is simple. We'll do truth, metaphors, beliefs, and ARV. That should take about a half an hour. And then we're going to do a learn by doing actual remote viewing tasking similar to what was done at SRI in the 1970s. So you're going to get your tasking and feedback during this webinar. When we do prediction on games and stuff, of course, you have to wait. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing it this way, because the feedback session is very important. Okay, let's talk about truth. Truth. Truth is a complex concept that philosophers have pondered for centuries. In its simplest form, truth is the property of being in accord with fact or reality. It's the opposite of falsehood. So often we think something is either true or false, but how do you know that? Turns out that a complicated issue. Um, so it's been talked about for ages, and there are theories on it. There's a theory that proposes, and again, this is where belief comes in. Belief is true if it coheres, agrees with a system of other beliefs. If a belief fits well with other beliefs that we hold to be true, then it's likely to be true itself. Now, you have to understand they come up with this because if you ask yourself a question, how do you know if something is true or not? It's like if you ask 10 witnesses to an accident, each one will tell you what they believe is true, and there are differences. So, how indeed do you know? So, this whole issue of truth is very complicated. Each of the witnesses believed that their concept of truth was right on. Pragmatic theory suggests that a belief, again, notice the word belief, is true if it is useful and practical. If a belief helps us to navigate the world and achieve our goals, then it can be considered true. Rather weak, I think. But some people say, okay, hey, if it helps us, you can believe it. But somehow I think it should be deeper than that. But let me go further into all of these. What's a metaphor? Since that was one of the titles. A metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally applicable, often to suggest a resemblance. Time is a thief. He is an angel. So in RRV, if you got an angel, do you think the picture is really an angel, or is it trying to tell you something about an innocent baby, a child, or protection? He is a devil. A devil might really represent disaster, serious injury. So you can go on and on with this. He's a lion, she's a tiger, she's a pussycat, he's a monkey. um, there's another aspect of this that is sort of metaphors, but almost unintentional. Like if you think of sky, very often you'll get blue, but that might really be more like an AOL because every time you think of sky, you think of blue. Or sometimes if you think of blue, you might think of sky, and that's your intellect doing that. We call those analytical overlays. Green plants, red, white, and blue. Those are so closely connected. You have to be real careful when you get red, you don't get other colors um, like white and blue. Some people, the colors seem to come in a string. So, there's the point of all of this is that the world is not crystal clear. Metaphors are out there. Connections between words are out there. All of this makes remote viewing and other psychic skills have a certain amount of noise associated with them. Now, how about mathematical truths? Well, mathematical truth refers to the objective validity of mathematical statements. This concept emphasizes the mathematical truths are not merely opinions or conjectures. They are provable facts that hold universally in a specific system. Okay, and that is true. 2 + 2 = 4, but only if you're working in base 10. We have base 10, everything is done in base 10. 2 + 2 = 4 there. But I mean, if you go someplace where they don't quite understand base 10 and they're using, base 20 or base 12, ETs, 2 + 2 wouldn't equal 4. So you have to be very specific. So within certain structures, you can prove things. However, to complicate it, and that's one of the main things I'm getting at here, is there's something called Gödel's theorem, a very, very famous theorem. He proved that every mathematical system will have some statements that can never be proved. I mean, isn't that amazing? In our system where we do algebra, there are statements that can't be proved. It can't be proved true or false. And it turns out what you need is a higher system. And it's remarkable. Like there are algebraic statements that can't be proved. But if you go to set theory, you might be able to prove them. Set theory includes algebra plus other things. The idea of a higher system, of course, I love that because the highest system is the spiritual system. And I make that comparison all the time. You will see it. Okay, now some researchers draw analogies between Gödel's theorems and quantum mechanics. For instance, the idea of undecidability in Gödel's work parallels the inherent uncertainties in quantum mechanics. Both fields suggest that there are limits to what can be known or proven, whether in mathematics or in the physical world. What all this says is we have to learn how to live with uncertainties, which is very difficult for most of us. What about physical truth? F = ma. Yeah, well, that's pretty good. That actually got us to the moon, but it's not completely right because quantum mechanics is a higher level of F = ma. But then there are other theories like general relativity, and these are not consistent with each other. Everybody's looking for a theory of everything, and this is going to have to include consciousness. What about the biological sciences? Lots of uncertainties, plenty more to learn, lots of uncertainties. What about the mind sciences? That's getting close to our remote viewing. And of course, there's a lot to learn. They're not exact sciences. Now, how about knowing? I'm going to tell you there's one thing which I believe you know for absolute certainty. And I think without the 2+2 example where you have to give a lot of hypotheses first. This is it. Excuse me. Knowing the now, this now moment. You heard that now moment? You heard that now moment? You see my hands going up and down? Another now moment? That is an experience in the now moments. They are absolutely true. Each one of those now moments, your experience of it, what you experienced is true. That's the absolute truth. You get that? The now moment is very seriously underplayed. Okay, you really feel like you get that? That's the now moment. You can't deny it. You had that direct experience. It's absolutely true. However, remote viewing and all psychic phenomena are in the now moment. When you do your remote viewing, you are going to have experiences in the now moment. However, the now experience may or may not correspond to reality when shared, when you put it down on the transcript, when you talk about it with others. And that's one of our biggest challenges. I say sorry about that, but this is not really, I'm not really sorry about it. It's something which we have to accept because I believe there are messages there, something to be learned. Where did that now moment come from? If it came from your deep, deep spiritual selves, if your subconscious which shared it with your conscious mind, or if your deep divine self shared it with your conscious mind, I think that information is valid. But it has to go through your whole psyche, has to go through your history. And that's why it's not always valid. And getting that and learning how to tell the difference is, I think, the most significant thing we can learn from remote viewing. When is it coming from the deep, deep part of yourself, the deep spiritual part of yourself, or is it coming from the intellect, which is trying to help you? Okay. Are there any questions up to that? You think you understood that?
Yeah, I have one question. One of the bullets said that when the remote, what we see in remote viewing, when we share it, it's not in the now anymore. Yeah, it does not correspond to reality when shared.
It
What?
may or may not. When
Okay.
you do remote viewing, you're going to get insights that go onto your conscious mind. You're going to put them on a sheet of paper. That's your job as a remote viewer. It's also your job to notice when there's what we call an analytical overlay. Let's say you get round and orange. Um, your mind is going to say, oh, it's a basketball. Well, in fact, it could be a pumpkin. The leap to a basketball is not what you got round and orange. That's cool. But then your leap to basketball. That's called an analytical overlay. Your mind is trying to help and conclude it. But round and orange may be right on if it came from your subconscious.
Yeah, no, I understood the distinction between the actual stream and what we're adding on top of it. I was wondering about when shared. So it's not the sharing of it that renders it invalid. It's what it's you were referring to AOL.
Yeah, let me think about that. I don't know what the right word is. I mean, you get it and then you write it down. Um, I don't know what the right word is. It may not correspond to reality, maybe period. Maybe that better. It's not only when you're shared, um, it may or may not correspond to reality, in our case, feedback. One of the nice things about we do, you always get feedback. Um, Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Does this clarify what I meant?
Yes, thank you, Marty.
Okay. Now, having said all this, and now I'm going to say something else, which is somewhat controversial, because if you are God, why do all these uncertainties happen? And they happen, in my opinion, because you're human. You are God at the spiritual level, but um, not in your physical life. And let me make that clear. This came from his book, John Robinson's book, I Am God. And he wants to write about that. I want to speak to you about any concerns you might have about this title. It is conceit, arrogance, or violation of sacred commandments to say, I am God. Okay, so he might be accused of that. Here's my response. Of course, I alone am not God. This alone would be colossal egotism. But when the idea of me dissolves in mystical consciousness, and I highlighted that, a mystical consciousness, it all begins with consciousness. Consciousness is fundamental. That's one of the things which we sort of know. That now moment is consciousness. When the idea of me dissolves in mystical consciousness, what's left is God. The mystics have been telling us that for eons. I am God, and so are you. By being God in the awakened experience, you awaken the full power and possibilities of divine joy, love, compassion, and revelation. Projecting this power somewhere else leaves you waiting for the divine other to act, blocking its flow through you, for the divine other is what you already are. My God, this is heavy. You are the one you have been praying to and waiting for. I believe the I am God realization is critical to the mystical activism that will one day carry humanity into its next stage of spiritual evolution. Wow. I just think that is a remarkable, remarkable insight said beautifully. Okay. I mean, this sort of leads to this sort of thing. Here's another book. You are infinite. You are eternal. You are God. And more importantly, you are me. Um, so you are infinite. Infinity is in your mystical spiritual soul. I mean, if you're God, you're infinite. Your spiritual soul is infinite. Well, there are levels of infinity um, in mathematics. And Ingo Swann, who I think you know, Richard, you heard of Ingo Swann? Oh God, oh, you're going to enjoy. Please stay in this community. There's so many things you can learn. Back at SRI, when all of this in our reality started, remote viewing goes back thousands of years, but in our sub-learning of it, Ingo Swann was one of the main guys, along with Hal Puthoff and Russell Tarr. And Ingo, really a great, great psychic. Message to humanity was simple. We are born with limitless potential. Okay, so you are infinite, capable of using more than just the five senses we are told are our only senses. So we've got infinite capability. And in living life, we should let go of our demons, embrace our angelic parts, and overall do as little harm as possible. So he got it. And I don't think I'm ever going to show this again. I'm going to very quickly show you what they mean by levels of infinity. Do you know anything about mathematics, Richa? A little? Okay.
A little. Yeah.
one over, and I just don't want to make a big deal out of this, but 1 over n, as n goes to zero, as it gets very small, 1 divided by 0 is like infinity. But for the same n, if you do 1 over n squared, so 0.01, 1 over 0.01 is 10,000 or something, like whatever it is. But 1 over n squared is a bigger number. It's going to infinity faster. So it's clear. And in mathematics, they have to deal with levels of infinity. And I think that's true for us as human beings. We can get more and more um, knowledgeable, enlightened, get rid of all the blocks that stop us from being infinite already, since it's in our spiritual soul. Okay. This is another way. And notice I used to say
Can
infinity.
I share something?
Please do. Please do.
So I don't know if you know this person called Ibrahim Karim. He does a lot of work on biogeometry and like sacred geometry.
Oh, okay.
And
What's his
and
name?
he and sorry, what?
I know his name.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how valid or how grounded in science are his claims, but his explanation of this is that the material reality is perceived more from the left side of the brain, and then the non-material reality is more perceived from the right side of the brain. And then whatever are the perceptions outside of our senses. So if you're using other extrasensory perceptions, then that means your right side is a little bit more evolved has those capabilities. And so as your abilities for things like telepathy or precog, etc., are developing, the right side is developing more. And so if it, and then uh, uh, it's the left side of the brain that anchors us into the material reality. And when both sides of the brain get more and more in sync, then we can perceive realities beyond just the 3D. And that's when the perception starts to increase. And that's when we can also perceive other dimensions into this reality, which I thought is a little bit similar to what you were saying about greater levels of infinity.
I agree with that totally. The only part I might say I'm not sure about is that the right brain um, needs to merge. Um, well, it does have to get it to sync with the left brain, but I don't know quite what that means. The right brain is connected to the spiritual. It's the
Mm.
right brain that has got the infinite capability um, in it. And getting over blocks which have come from working with the left brain. And so that's why me personally, I don't quite know how to bring the left brain into this. I'm just sharing my uncertainty about that. What I am certain of is that the right brain is connected deeply with the spiritual. When you do your remote viewing, you try to set aside the left brain, quiet it, and that's when we do something called cool down, and you try to quiet the left brain. But these analytical overlays that I briefly mentioned come from the left brain, and it's trying to help. but
Mhm.
but the right brain is the spiritual. So thank you for sharing that, and I agree with that. Okay, infinity is in your mystical spiritual soul. um, I used to say in, but infinity is your mystical spiritual soul. This is the metaphor concept. You connect two things, and I like that. So here is the way um, um, the Taoists uh, say it. You are the master, keeper, creator of your reality. I mean, that's it. You are the master, keeper, creator of your reality. Doesn't that say that you are the God, keeper, creator of your reality? And I think we need to each of us make this personal and feel it personally. I'm going to repeat it, but every time I repeat it, I try to get it deeper and deeper. That I am the master, keeper, creator of my reality. No blame. I am the master, keeper, creator of my reality. I'm all powerful. No matter what happens to me, at some level, I'm responsible. The good things, and then what I might consider the bad things. I consider all of those, me personally, as lessons. I am the master, keeper, creator of my reality. Okay, so let's do a prediction, right? No questions? I'm going to give you the deepest understanding I have of remote viewing. Here I said associated remote viewing. It has to do with both of them. In remote viewing, your tasking is to describe and sketch your feedback target, period. No associations. That is your task. Remote viewing, to be legitimate remote viewing, where you don't argue, how do I know if it's true or not, has to have a feedback session. So you're describing and sketching your feedback target, which you're going to see in the future. But precognition, since you're doing it here, you don't know what this is, you can view this as precognition. It begins here because this is the truth point. Now, how does that happen? It happens through your subconscious. Your subconscious connects up with your own subconscious when you're doing this session. And how do they connect? They connect to what we call the universe of collective consciousness, Akashic records, all that is, higher power. Um, it's got all kinds of names, but it's that non-physical, spiritual part of you and part of reality. And that's which allows this entanglement involving focused intention, positive expectations, and joyful emotion to be shared. So, this linear time approach is not the way the world works. The world has this, not, it's called non locality connection, and it's entangled. That's the words quantum mechanics would use. This session is intimately connected with this one based on your focused intention. And it involves spirituality. Okay. Now, this is a webinar we're doing um, the first of every month. Would you like to get notifications of that? Would you like to become part of app and all of that? You would. Okay, so let me get you signed up here, and then I'll also sign you up um, for one of our groups, probably Pegasus. So put your email address in the chat box. Got it. Huh. Okay. Control C. Is that correct? Spelled correctly and everything? Mm,
No,
what-
you need to put your own email address to sign in, and then it will take you to the Google Sheet.
Yeah, I see. I just want to make sure yours is okay here. Agoyo. Okay. Yeah. Often it takes it directly because I'm here so often. So let me look up I probably have it here. Let me put in my master password.
Yeah, but I think you need to change the email address first because right now it's using username as Richa Goyal.
Oh, you're saying it asks for my.
Yeah, you need to log in to
Oh,
your Google account.
I see. Got it. Got it. Let me save that anyway. And let me do that. And do that. Ah, enter my password. Okay, so now I can enter you. There you go. And I'm entering you directly. And I am not a robot. Okay, sometimes it comes up right away. Let's see. Yep, there you are. Okay, so you're in that group, and I will add you. Let me make myself a note here to Pegasus, which is a prediction group. Um, okay, so there we are. Let's go on to the next one. So here's your tasking on a sheet of paper, a blank sheet of paper. Put it on the top left, this coordinate, sometimes called the target reference number, TRN, because that's what it is. This has only an association with the target you're going to see in the future, the feedback target, 386413. Okay, so you have that written on a sheet of paper. What we are going to do is I've randomly chosen a target. I'm going to judge this one alone. You and the viewers, you're going to predict the target for this coordinate. Just wait a moment because I have a few more words to say. And then you're going to relax, write the coordinate again, and quickly draw an ideogram, pictogram, doodle. Do you know what an ideogram is? Good. I'm going to show you. And then you feedback by visiting the site. The SRI people would randomly pick an envelope of 100 of them in a car. So they would leave SRI, then pick the place to go, which is a half an hour drive from SRI. That's why it's called outbounded, the way they did it. We have now just chosen a random target that you don't know. Um, so the viewer was blind to it. And then they went to the target and they gave themselves feedback. If there was a swing there, they play on the swing. What we would do is imagine ourselves playing on a swing if there's a swing. God, I hope I didn't front load you There's no swing in the target I chose. Okay. Here's an example. Now, this is a short example. Sometimes there's more on it. But what you do is, this is where I ask you to put the coordinate here. Also, on the right side of the page, you should put your name, the date, and notice I wrote webinar workshop. Usually you can do that under here. This is an ideogram. Sometimes it's called a pictogram because sometimes it'll actually look like the this was not known, obviously, at the time this was done, but you could see how well she did. Red, blood, red, a thing, metallic, moving parts, white background, not sure she got that. Painted surface. This to me looks like it could be that. AOL of a tool. This was just an excellent session and it came to her quickly. Lots of times the stuff comes quickly. A lot of people like to do an ideogram a second time and get more information. Everybody is different. As you do this more and more and get more experience, you might even change how you do this. But this is what I'd like you to do today. You'll put your number when we start, and you'll do your radiogram, and you'll get what you get. It's almost impossible to get nothing, but be open to getting stuff from your subconscious. So this is your layout. You write it. You could say it out loud if you wish. The AOLs, if you get this sense that it's an intellectual thing, write it down. You want to write everything your sub gives you. So you're going to drop your intellect, drop your ego. You're with your sub that's getting information from your deep divine. And the tasking, describe and/or sketch your feedback target. Clear focus. Don't just say it, really feel it. Give a sense of the future target that you're going to see, and that's what the sub is going to give you. Focused intention. Now, we're now doing the beginning of cool down. We're trying to get you forgetting everything that's happened in the past, what's happened today, what's happened in the last 5-10 minutes. We're going to give you a meditation with some words. It takes 4 minutes to cool you down even further. This step is considered important by both Joe McGonigal and Tom McNair, everybody. I just want to get quiet. Then I'm going to have 5 minutes going with a very mellow background music for 5 minutes. That's when you do your transcript. I will probably, after this ends, begin your transcript. And then just be an honest witness to your subconscious. The ego's only job is to maintain the transcript. Okay? Okay. Clear? You feel comfortable? So I'm now going to give you the first cool down. Reinforce your intention with this cool down.
So let us take some words into meditation, repeated simple phrases. First of all, just allow yourself to repeat. Do not be afraid. Imagine that is being said to you by your wise teacher that you acknowledge, Jesus, your Buddha nature, the Prophet, Allah, the universe, nature. But somewhere echoing around the universe is that deep-seated voice that says, don't be afraid. And perhaps as we touch into that phrase of don't be afraid, We recognize that as human beings, we exist on many planes of existence, from our mortal frame, our minds and bodies, to an aspect of our being that is immortal, the soul, our essence. Each of us, during our lives, may touch into that truth. It may sometimes seem far away, sometimes may seem close. Some of us may live it moment by moment, recognizing that we are not just who we think we are. We're not our roles, our identities. So be open now, deep in our consciousness, deep in the unconscious. Allow ourselves to say quite simply, I am. Breathe in the word, I. Breathe out the word, am. Just sit for a moment, breathing, I am. Encouraging the sense of simply being. No need for an addition that I am this or I am that or I'm experiencing this. But I am open to, receptive to the deepest, very core of our being. This I amness has been said throughout time in all traditions. It is eternal. It is immortal. We open ourselves, are receptive to our essential nature, which does not know death. The we who we think we are may pass away, the world may pass away, but it is only one plane of consciousness. Deep in the very core of our being is the immortal I amness, which all beings, all life, all creation possesses. And as we touch into that essential I amness, as we breathe in the word I, breathe out the word am. We remember that those are the very words when asked, who are you, of the divine? That is exactly what the divine says. I am. And we say, I am. And all beings say, I am. The whole universe is saying, I am.
chat box. I've used every transport. Okay, Richard, I've got yours. Simona, I know you're sending yours. And let me bring over the feedback. Let's see how I can make this. Okay, very good. And now I will bring over there's the feedback. So let's see how we did. Well, why don't you go over it? I could probably read your handwriting, but that's okay. I see girl, which is obviously good.
Yeah, but the girl I saw was dressed in a school uniform and she was standing by a pole, which could be a phone booth or a lamppost.
Uh-huh.
And in a second image, I saw a bus stop also with girls in school uniform. I also saw some horse riders. So I was completely off.
Well, no, the girl was very good. You get a lot of points for that. And I would say the phone booth is a structure, and there's clearly a structure there, right? Um, and so horse girders, race, green grass. This also might look so. Yeah, I mean, and we rank this on a 0 to 7 scale. 3.5 being where you would say, oh, I think this is enough. I put a few bucks on it. I would just give this probably a 2, maybe a 2.5 because of the girl. Simona, you've been doing this for years. What would you give it? And then we'll look at yours. But right, you didn't do right, but you did got the girl and you got it very first thing.
Mm.
And this even looks like when we do feedback, which you can be doing now on your transcript. Why don't you do it now on your transcript? Circle girl really big. And then I'll tell you what we do with positive feedback. And maybe next to phone booth or here, you can put structure and a question mark. I know you don't feel comfortable with it, and you shouldn't. You don't want to push it too much. Do you have any sense on how you would rank that one?
I would rank it to 0.
You'd give it a 1. Well, you got something, so you have to give it at least a 1. 2 is random. That's what 2 is. 3 says it has some psychic stuff in it. This isn't strong enough to say that. So that's why I said 2.5. Okay, so Simone actually has a detailed way of doing this, and she may be doing that now, which is great. Okay, so let me get hers now. I think you can remember this well enough. Well, I can make it small. Okay, let's now get Simona's. Okay. Let me get this on there. That there. Well, I got yours back. Did I lose you, Simona? Oh, looks like I did.
Simona's on mute, so I don't know if that's deliberate or.
Okay, I change it.
Okay. This one, I think I need to make a little smaller so we can see it all. Good. There's the end of session. That's very important to do. It tells your thing you're done. Okay. She got hard. That certainly fits with the. Oh, why don't you go over with us?
Okay, I got something solid and hard, which might be, I don't know what they have there in the water.
Surfboard.
So
They're hard.
some boards, yeah.
Surfboards.
And then gray, beige, and rough. Because the rough is the water and the gray and beige colors which are there. Then I got round spiral movement, action, soft, white, blue, and black.
Right.
So I guess they can all go.
Round goes for their heads.
Yeah. And that movement of the water or the people.
Soft.
And soft and white, we have white, and blue and black.
Where do you see
It's black is not that much.
blue?
Maybe gray.
The gray is good, but I don't see blue either.
I guess the water is usually blue, but this one is more gray.
And that's why you put it there, and you might even mark that as a hit for that reason for yourself. If I was judging you, I would not give you blue.
Then I have curves, upward, semi-soft, green and brown. Brown, there is a little brown on that board. And there are curves.
Yes.
And the second one is I have liquid, water, blue and white, and I'm calling it fountain, but it's not really fountain. It's just a movement of the water. And then I have again curves up and down and movement, action and white and rotation. I guess that's a movement of the water.
Yeah, and it's certainly rotating as part of it.
Yeah. And actually, the people are moving too.
True. Wow.
And then I have again over, down, solid, hard. I guess again we are referring to those boards, and the hard, natural is the water. Stepping, that doesn't really work. And beige are like the bodies. And then I'm also say rotation, which is maybe the water movement.
Okay, this reach. I think you'd agree this is really good. You know, when you mark all the things she got, she only missed a few. This is probably 5.5 or a 6. This might be a 6. Simone, I don't know. What would you do first look without doing the details?
Well, I didn't specifically talk about the people, like calling them.
Oh, you didn't get the people. That is true.
Yeah, yeah,
The big thing you miss. You're right. It might only be a 5.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the things we emphasize or to call gestalts, you know, the big picture here would be people, water, action, and hard. You know,
Yeah.
those 4 things.
And the liquid and the water. I got all of this except like the living entities or people.
Right. And I think Richa got the person. She got the girl.
She got the girl, yeah.
Well, excellent, Simona. Excellent.
Thank you.
And excellent, Richa, too, for your very first one. You did it. And you can see here what we mean by ideograms or pictograms. You see, this is definitely looks like a solid. Here she got planting like a pictogram, but when you
It's also another interpretation as water because it's kind of the way I drew it is from up, like jumping up. On the planting ideogram, I have planting, but then I have water, liquid and water, like a second interpretation.
right. So even this had a sense of water to you. You know,
Yes.
for me is and I don't have too many symbols I go with. I go with structure, but this for me is sentient being. If it
Is
was
it?
if it
Yeah.
was upside down, it would be a person or people. So if it was the other way, like that, for me, that's a person. When it's like this, for me, it's sentient being and multiple. The movement, anyway, very good. Okay, let's go on to the rest of my presentation. I gave you the feedback. Now, here is what I'd like you both to do. On another circle or mark the matches on your transcript. So you got an awful lot to mark. Simona, Richa, did you disappear? I hope you're still here. Good.
Yeah,
Because,
I'm still here. Just trying to connect my computer to a charger. I'm running out of battery.
oh, I see. Okay. Get a new sheet of paper because you're going to do a new positive feedback session. The first thing you do is just mark all the good stuff. You know, you circle girl, triple circle it. You should be really happy about that. Notice Simona didn't even get that, and you got that. So you should feel really good about that. Okay, so on your transcript itself, mark it, circle a girl, big stuff, sometimes in a different color, because there's a lot of stuff. And then on a new sheet of paper, the way I say it is do the remote viewing session you wish you did. Maybe a simple sketch which has a simple picture of a person or the word girl. You already had that. That's good enough. but then you need to say water, maybe do something like a shoreline with wavy waterfront, just something simple. Go ahead, do it now. Something very simple. Enough, and then do the word water. As we said, action, people, and hard. That's all you have to do. That would be positive feedback. You know, are there sounds? Well, actually, there's sounds here. Sometimes you get sounds of the water, um, smell, taste, feelings, emotions, but you just add them on your positive feedback. And as you do it, you just make it really real. So you get new words and phrases. And this is how you learn, by adding things that are actually there. So next time something like that comes up, you'll get that. And that finishes. It says, this doesn't take much longer than we took here. And then put EOS on the back of that too, which shows, hey, you're done with your positive feedback session. Okay. And then enjoy this. I mean, this is fun stuff. Enjoy certainly getting the girl, but enjoy now learning about the other stuff that you might not have gotten. And then add love and joy. Always, as much love and joy you have in your life, the better when you cross over to the pure spiritual. So add it every chance you get. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who is a Christian mystic, said that. Beautiful. And then I want to end this with my last slide, which I actually got from when I was in the Monroe Institute. They did a guided meditation through 4 spiritual pools, and I got one word out of each of them. God, and I still remember that experience. Love, wisdom, beauty, joy. Love has reasons which reason cannot understand. Only love gives us the taste of eternity. The key is to stay in the moment. Joy is found in the moment. I'm not going to read them all. Okay. If there's anything else, let's questions, comments about what you just experienced here, or we can end this.
I had a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this, Marty.
Okay, great. Good. I see a nice smile on your face. That's wonderful. Simona does a lot of these. She does a session almost every day, and she comes to all my webinars.
Wow.
And
Are you having ideograms, just a few ideograms, and they always mean the same, or they can mean different things?
I have a few. Every time I see a sharp one like a structure, I write structure. Now it's possible that that'll change, and every time I get something that for me means a person, I write person. I don't go, I'm just being honest with you. People say you should go by the feeling, but a few of those ideograms for me override that, right or wrong. It's not like, it's not like I have the end answer for everything. I don't think anybody does. So I'm giving you what I do.
And that one that I was having there, you are interpreting as people.
No,
I think you said something about how you interpret.
sentient, non-human, sentient being.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I used to take that to mean animal. I now am including, just because it happened to me once when there was no snail, no nothing, but there were a lot of plants. So you can
Oh,
the plant to be sentient or not. So I had to take that on. And so I now include that as well. Non-sentient, non-human sentient being.
And what do you have for humans?
The upward shape, upward, over, and down.
I don't know the difference, but I was just curious.
One is up, and then one is down. I don't know. I don't think I can write on this. You ought to let me write on this. Oh, wait, I got a pen here. Okay, here's a pen. So this for me is human.
Okay.
Now, see, now I'm doing multiple humans. I can't do this.
Uh-huh. It's
The
non.
human
Okay.
sentient. So it's the upside down of that.
All right. I see. But they can be different for people. Like different people have different.
And people make their own, Richa.
Yeah.
I mean, whole workshops on this given by Lynn Buchanan, who's one of the original RVers. But people ultimately, usually after, I don't know how many it takes, 10 of these, settle into a system which they then might modify, but slowly. At the beginning, people like to try different things. Okay.
Okay.
Mona, no more questions. Richa, any more questions, comments? Well, thank you for joining me. I really
Thank
enjoyed.
you, Marty.
You're welcome. I enjoyed this also. So let me turn this off, and then I will certainly by tomorrow put out the video on this. And I'm ending this now.